Hello, everyone, and good morning. My name is Cameron Henderson, and I just graduated from LaSalle High School in Pasadena 2 weeks ago. This fall, I will be attending Loyola Marymount University to study political science. I first want to thank you all for take a moment to thank you all for waking up this morning to come to church. I know I'm not usually up this early, even when I have to acolyte for the 9 a.m. service. When I was young, like most kids, I loved playing with toys, especially action figures, the Hulk. I've noticed that for some adults, this desire for playing with and accumulating lots of toys doesn't really change as they get older. I heard a quote in my environmental science class this year that has had a lasting impact on me. The quote goes like this: "He or she who dies with the most toys wins." Think about that for just a moment. To win the game, you have to get the most toys. But the thing is, no one wins the game. At the end, you're still dead. Isn't it ironic that you have all of these toys, but you're still dead? I don't know about you, but this game doesn't sound like much fun. Yet some people spend their whole lives playing this game, trying to get as many toys as they can. But why, and for what? One answer, I believe, is because our American culture says so. Our American culture says it's okay to accumulate lots of things because it demonstrates that our country is number one, or so we are led to believe. The hard reality is, unfortunately, that the materials used for all the toys we have aren't going to be around forever. We are so concerned with personal gain that we can't even realize that our pursuit of all these things doesn't truly satisfy us. It doesn't make us happy. In 2 Corinthians, we are told that the things we see don't last. These are the things that we often spend too much time worrying about. Things like cars, phones, television sets, stereos, and home theaters. Sounds good, right? All of this stuff doesn't last. Not only in the literal sense, but also because of our inability to be satisfied with what we have. Have you ever noticed how quickly people trade in their perfectly good iPhones a year later for the next better model? Our constant desire for newer and better things distracts us from the eternal perspective that should really be our focus. As children of God and as caretakers of this planet, we should try and keep the big picture in mind, that we have a responsibility to care for this planet since it's the only one we have. The lifestyle that so many Americans and others who look to us want to live is quite literally destroying our planet. If everyone on Earth, for example, lived the average North American lifestyle, we'd need about 4 more planets exactly like our own in order to do it. This is a problem since we don't have any planets like our own nearby. In fact, the closest planet that may support life is 4 light years from our sun. To put that into perspective, 1 light year is 5.8 trillion miles. That means we need to travel over 20 trillion miles just to reach the next solar system with a planet like ours. There is no technology today that will let us even get close to covering that distance. This is our only planet, and we aren't doing a very good job maintaining it. Another alarming statistic is that the United States of America holds 5% of the world's population, but uses around 27% of the entire world's resources. From those resources, we produce about 30% of the world's waste. By a quick show of hands, how many of you recycle? Now, I know that sometimes we've all fallen into the temptation to toss a totally recyclable bottle or can into a trash can. I know I have, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Remember, don't lie, you're in a church. When we throw that bottle or can away thinking, oh, it's just one, what could it hurt? We forget that the answer to the question is quite staggering. Imagine if 360 million people just had the same thought, that it's just one bottle. Can you imagine 360 million bottles being thrown away day after day? In the course of 1 year, the amount of items not being recycled ends up a staggering amount. It has taken the human species 4.5 billion years to reach the population size of 6 billion people. In the next 45 years, that number will increase by 2 billion. Our planet simply cannot sustain that many people at this rate. We have to change how we use our planet's resources. At the end of the day, the Earth will continue on without us if we don't. But I believe that we can change, not only how we live on this planet, but also the ways that we treat and understand one another. Are there any baseball fans here? I know it isn't the most exciting sport, but it's my favorite to play and watch. Baseball is one of the most team-based sports I know. The most basic part of the game, the pitcher throwing the ball, requires someone to be there to catch it. And if the pitch is hit, there's 7 people behind the pitcher ready to back him up. The same works on the offensive side. The runners can't score without batters behind them. The reality is, you can't play the game of baseball without teammates. It just doesn't work. Playing baseball reminds me that I don't live on this planet by myself, that my needs are not the only needs out there, and that I have a responsibility to help care for the people around me. This theme of caring and loving one another is clearly stated in today's gospel message. Jesus says, "Look, here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does God's will is my brother, sister, and mother." For me, this means that we are all a part of God's family. There is nothing that separates us from one another. I believe this is God's will, to not only to protect the home God has built for us, but for us to realize that we should always stay focused on the eternal, that we should take care to not be consumed by the material things and desires of this world, and to remember that our highest and truest calling is to love one another. Amen.